Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and I had somebody in one of my comments say that I should try and do a tier list based on the current units out to kind of give my thoughts on where I think a lot of the units, where they currently exist on here, as well as potentials for their future. So I think first I was going to just take a look at the units currently available. This is the best tier list I could find on there. It has every unit, but I'm only going to go with the ones that are currently available, as well as Macchiato, who we will be getting tomorrow on release. So first we'll go ahead and go through the SR units, kind of give my thoughts on the unit specifically, and then where I think they will fit on the tier list. So the first one here will be Kolfine. Now I have not really used Kolfine at all. I haven't had the need. I mean, they gave us Suomi right at the start. So for your primary team, she is going to be just keeping your team alive with shields, and I think a vast majority of people decided to go over her V1, which is probably one of the best dupes in the game, especially being on her, because it kind of fixes the one issue with Suomi, which is her like lack of healing and being only a shielder. V1 completely fixes that. Kolfine can actually out heal Suomi by quite a significant margin, and has quite a bit of healing within her kit. Pretty much everything she does heals, but that's the bulk of what she can do. And when it gets more towards the more difficult content, especially as I'm starting to get the harder stuff, it's not a lack of healing that I'm seeing on my team, so I'm able to keep my team generally alive. The problem is becoming a lack of damage, and that is something that Kolfine really lacks. And that's why you'll see I think I'll see a lot of tier lists putting at the very bottom of the tier list, because she's pretty much outclassed by anything else that can heal in the game and do a little bit more support. And I kind of agree with that one with a lot of them, that there isn't much use for unless we get some content that needs a significant amount of healing. That for some reason Suomi can't handle. I mean, her shields are breaking and they're taking damage, and then you're not able to get her ultimate. This can be a way to top them up, but I just do not see any value in her. And a lot of this comes down to Suomi just coming out first. I think she may have had more value if we kind of followed CN's route, where we didn't get Suomi right off the bat and we were really lacking healers. She would have probably got a lot more use and would have been a little bit more valuable. But Suomi completely invalidates her, and then you have the others like Exina here, and I think a couple others with a little bit of healing in them as well, like Cheetah. So the next unit we'll take a look at is Graza. And when we take a look at Graza, she's a unit that I'm currently working on building up. I've been leveling her up with my group, but I have not gotten through all of her neural hexes. But she is one that I will be using on the tier 8 boss to defeat the second round of them. A lot of it has to do with her ability to give your team a lot of defense, prevent stability damage, and then a really key part is her ability to do her counterattack to enemies when they attack your teammate. This can work really well in conjunction with someone like QJ, who will actually follow up after her attacking the enemy as well. So it's a way to actually get some more counterattacks from her, especially when it's if you use her ultimate and you have you're not able to get as many attacks out by your other teammates. Graza can come in there and do an additional one after the round's over and it's the enemy's turn. And then just all that extra defense is great. Right now, she is really useful and probably one of the better the SRs that we currently have. I put her as tier 1 for now. She'll get eventually moved down as we get some better units to start to outclass her in this respect. But right now, she is extremely good. And in PvP, I've seen that she can do quite well if built properly. Right now, I don't have her built completely properly because I've focused most of my attention on the SSRs. So she has been useful to me, but not as invaluable as I think she could be if I had put a little bit more time into her. Next one on here is Kolic. If anyone's watched my streams, I used her to beat the tier 6 and 7 boss. Now, one of the things is it made it a little bit harder for myself, because one person I could have brought that probably would have made it a little bit easier would have been Vepley. Biggest thing I brought Kolic was just kind of going that direction of having a full burn team. She has overburn that can be applied to the enemy that would help trigger Sharrey and her counterattack. And she can do the little challenge area on that boss quite easily. Go in there, attack the enemies, and a couple of them where you need to like kill 3 of them make really well for her, because she can kill them and immediately get out of there. She's like really good on the gold stage where she can usually kill 3 enemies and get another turn. Really good when she can work in the scenarios that she can work. But that's one of the problems is she's very situational, but she's good in the situations that she's good for. And being an SR unit that you're given for free and then gets a lot better once you actually get all of her dupes, which we're going to be able to potentially get, especially if you're going for V1 and Macchiato on the next banner. There's a very good chance you could get her up to V6, which will bring up her value even more in that respect. And so while you see a lot of tier lists putting her at the very bottom, kind of like the Colfine, is because she gets outclassed, but she's like the only melee unit you're going to have unless you pulled for Allred, which common advice for a lot of people is not to, simply because you don't want to go through all your pulls, and we had Suomi on this banner. And so she's most likely, for a majority of people, going to be their only melee user. And for that, I'll put her right above the very bottom because she'll have her uses. It's very situational, but she's not a don't ever use. I feel like she'll have, you're going to get use out of her if you build her. But she's not an absolute must build like some other units. And so that's why she kind of could be put to the wayside for a lot of people. The next unit is one that really kind of surprised me as I'm trying to learn the tactics for some of these bosses. Like I'll say when I'm streaming, or when I'm playing offline, I am not the best at these games, especially when I'm streaming and it's harder to think because I'm trying to talk with chat and play at the same time. It is quite challenging to do that. And realistically, the biggest thing is she is a healer and she kind of lacks on the healing side for bosses. But a lot of the problems I was having with the boss, it was just trying to do them without really paying attention as well to the mechanics because I'm dealing with chat and all that. But she actually does quite fine if you're really paying attention to what's going on and putting your people in the key places. She's able to heal quite a bit. But the biggest thing on the burn team is she has a lot of buffs built into her. And this is why you actually see her. I'm going to put her in tier 1 on this list. You'll see a lot of the teams on CN, and a lot of people say that she's more valuable than Cinerusi just because she heals enough. In the end game is more about being able to deal damage versus having a lot more healing, and she can provide more buffs that are beneficial to the team than Cinerusi can, even though Cinerusi has a lot of other stuff that can help the team with on the healing side, which elevates her up to being, she's just like a mainstay on the burn team at this current point, even on the CN side. And right now, she's pretty much my primary second healer while I have Suomi on the other when we need 2 teams. And for that, she's definitely a tier 1 for me. The next one is Lara. And her, I have not used her at all. I haven't really looked into her kit much. I've seen her low on tier list. I really can't give her a rating because of that. And I know she is one of the, I believe she is a LMG user, much like Peta. So I'm guessing she's kind of in that similar vein. I would put her probably on the lower list for that realm because she's outclassed probably. But since I haven't really looked heavily into her kit, nor have used her at all, or am building her, I'm kind of going to just not really rate her on that. I'm going to guess she's lower on the list just because of everyone available. She's one of the ones that I feel like I don't see anybody wanting to build. Not because she probably has some value, but everybody else, they're just higher priorities and thus really isn't going to get used much. So I will not currently rate her, but I'm going to guess I would probably put her down on a T3 or T4 side of things when it comes to her. We have Lara, who is the free one that everybody will have V6 and have her V6 weapon, or whatever it's called for the weapon, the 6th copy of it. So you'll have it maxed out weapon. She's really good at the AoE side of things, doing a lot of damage from a lot of enemies. I've kind of lacked in AoE, as anyone who's watched me stream doing the difficult content where I didn't build any of them because I just focused mostly on QJ, Suomi, and Tolo and Mosen Nagant and putting all my resources in them. And while it works for single target stuff, it's not that easy when you're doing this AoE stuff, and Lara is extremely good for that content right now. And for that, I would put her up here, probably on, I'd probably put her on the T2 because that's really all I feel she's good for. She really lacks on being able to do more than that. Now I've seen that she does really well on the PvP side of things as well, and I've actually almost lost because of her in a fight. She was heavily geared and all that as well. But because we got her at V6 and a 6 duped weapon, I mean, that makes her pretty dangerous right now. But it is mostly on the AoE side, and she kind of lacks in that respect. And so that's where I kind of put her for now. Now, I haven't been able to use her heavily because I'm just now starting to build her, but using the little bit I have, I can tell she's pretty good. Next unit for me is going to be a Cheetah. One of the units we all got for free. I have not really had the chance to build her, working with the burn team as well as giving buffs and some heals amongst the team. But I haven't really had a spot to put her in because my main focus has been having, especially when it comes to like where you need 2 teams on the bosses. The first team is kind of my ragtag group of hard-hitting units alongside Suomi, and then the other one's going to be kind of my burn team side of things, which is where you can kind of fit Cheetah in there, which while I kind of put her as a T2 on this. But one of the problems is, I mean, just Kesia here brings more value, has better healing support with her support actions as well. I think you can probably go either or, but just having that extra heal, I think from her, that's a little bit stronger in that respect. And when it comes to the other teammates that you're going to have on your burn team, you're going to want your QJ. So she takes up the slot. And then down the road, we're eventually going to get Cinerusi, and I would take Cinerusi over Cheetah easily. And you're going to want Kesia as well. And then, I mean, you have your mainstay DPS that's going to work alongside QJ, which is going to be Sharrey, which we'll get to here in her review. And so right now, Cheetah can't really fit my team. Partially because I haven't built her, but also because my team's already kind of put together with other units. And so she's not one that I'm going to be building anytime soon. But the people that have built her, she does have that value there, I feel like, for teams. And the next one will be Nagant here. Another one I really haven't had the resources to put into and building and actually really utilizing myself. But I feel like she's just a useful debuffer on the corrosion side of things. And when you're kind of wanting to do a team, when you're going to kind of mix in a lot of the debuffs on the corrosion, and you want to go with like a Nemesis as being one of your mainstays on your group, I think she'll work alongside her, as well as the others with some of her debuffs there. But I have not really been able to use her much. And I know you can get just more value out of some of the other SRs. Or the SSRs in that respect, whether it's going to be like Cheetah giving yourself buffs or some of the others. I currently would put her like in a T3-ish, but I take that one with a grain of salt in mind because I have not had the chance to really use her and mess with her kit at all. And so that is going to bat for her. Nemesis is another one I haven't really built, but I kind of regret not building. I actually think she is really good. And she's up there, and I would put her pretty much at, this is one a little tough. It's like either a T1 or T2 to me. I have not built her because I got Mosen Nagant on one of my lost 50-50s when I was playing for Suomi, and I decided to build Mosen Nagant. But one of the problems is Nemesis, especially if you get her at 6 dupes, outclasses Mosen Nagant, and well, at least until Mosen Nagant starts to get her own dupes. And for that kind of reason, I put her at T1 herself, because she can put some good debuffs on the enemy. She has her own support actions, which are a little bit easier to trigger than Mosen Nagant. And so while I haven't built her, I know I want to potentially build her in the future. But then again, well, actually, I'll probably get down to T2 because she's about to be outclassed already. And that's just going to be because Macchiato's coming out and it's going to be probably everybody's primary sniper. But knowing that, I mean, Nemesis is good to have built too because she does have a good common key that you'll want to eventually get for her. And then the next SR unit, and this is probably the one I've used the most in my team, and that is Sharrey. Automatic T0S on the list here, the absolute best SR right now. Biggest thing is she works extremely well along QJ. She's only going to get more value when you get her to if you can get 3 dupes of QJ, because then her support actions will do the overburn that is able to trigger Sharrey. And then we also have on Macchiato's banner, we're going to be able to pull up dupes for Sharrey. So she has a lot of value now, and it's only going to get better as we go on and start getting our dupes of other characters or other ones that work well alongside her. And for that reason, she's probably the best SR in the game. She is still a mainstay on the CN side, so you will not regret building her. And so that is all the SR units. Now, like I said, a lot of my experience, I have had very little with them. Sharrey and Kesia are probably the ones I have the most. Graza kind of being in there as well, but not heavily built. And so you have to take a lot of the SRs with a grain of salt. That's just my thoughts on just looking at their kits and not heavily having used them. And so I know I don't know how well it compares to any of the other tier lists because I haven't really paid attention to the SRs too much on them. I know a lot of them probably have most of them rated probably lower than I have them, except maybe Sharrey. I would assume a lot of them have her at least in T0 or T1. But that is that for the SRs. And then let's start going ahead and get into the SSRs. And this is current. So just note that this is how they are acting currently. This isn't going to, I'll kind of discuss it, but this is what they work for now, not what they're going to work like in the future. For that, we're going to start with QJ, which is the one that I targeted for my rerolls. QJ is extremely good. Her support actions can carry fights. She works right alongside Sharrey. And she's only going to get better. If you have 3 dupes of her already, like I've seen some people have, that got lucky and got those, amazing with Sharrey. They're going to be doing great single target damage. Even right now, she's doing great single target damage for me, even though I know she's only going to get better in the future. And for that alone, she's currently a T0. And if you've already got a lot of dupes of her, I'd put her above. I'd put her even better than T0 on this list because she's above and beyond at that point. At this current point in the game, she'll kind of level out once we start getting some more units in the game, where she'll be at the top, but not the only one at the top in that respect. Then we have Suomi, the one that everybody absolutely should have pulled. If you haven't pulled yet, you still have a little bit of time. You need to pull her, and she's one of the few units that I would say even someone that's free to play, if you can, get her V1, because it just completes her kit because of it adding the heals to her alongside her shields with her ultimate. And absolutely going to be the best sustained for a long time until we can get Springfield. And Springfield is not a power creep to Suomi. That's one thing that I've discussed with some other people. And a lot of other content creators have said that she is Springfield power creep Suomi, and that's not true in that respect. Someone even said that Suomi and Springfield can work together, which I guess can be true because Springfield kind of is like Kesia in the fact that she provides a lot of support and damage for the team, then also heals on the side. It just so happens Springfield's heals are amazing alongside that. But Suomi is going to make your units extremely beefy with their shields. So even if you don't have the V1, they're going to be able to take quite a few hits. The only negative is if you don't have V1, if they start taking damage, her heals are not up to par to really handle healing. But her shields are so good that if you are strategic with your movements, you shouldn't have a problem with that in the first place. And so she's going to be up here at the top, and she's going to be there for the foreseeable future. I don't see dropping her down when Springfield comes out either. In that respect, because you're always going to have your value, and you're always going to have content that needs more than one team. And so right there, absolute best. Everybody needs to get her if they haven't got her at this point. And with that, it comes Allred, and she's a very underrated character, and it's just bad luck on where she came out. She came out alongside Suomi, and everybody, you have to pull over Suomi, and so Allred kind of fell through the cracks in that respect because Suomi's V1 is so good too that free to play are just going to dump everything on getting that V1, which has reduced a lot of people pulling for Allred. But she is very underrated. She has been really good on the PvP side that I've seen. I have not seen how she works in action in PvE because I don't have her. I didn't pull for her. All I know is in PvP, she has wrecked me a couple times on defense when I haven't paid attention to where she is on the field. Now, if you pay attention, you can kind of counter her to an extent, but she is a extremely good unit in that respect. And I know a lot of people rate her pretty low, but being what her capabilities are, especially if you get her unique weapon, it's kind of like in between of T1 and T2 to me. So I kind of put her on the top of T2 just based on how I've seen her perform. But this is just going based on seeing what she's capable of and seeing her in action in PvP and reading her skills. This isn't from my own personal experience and her value, so just kind of take it with that. Then you have Sabrina, another one that I don't currently have, but everybody should be getting next month when they get their first copy from doing the boss fights. An extremely good unit on the tankiness side, really good at PvP. I absolutely hate fighting her alongside Suomi, especially with a lot of the stuff she can throw at you. And for that, especially because we're going to have her at V0, eventually we'll have her at V6. But for that, I think she's the absolute top of, I don't know if I put her on T0, T1. I think she's less valuable in PvE than she is in PvP, but she's still extremely good. And for that, I'll just put her at the top of T1 in my thoughts. I do not have her and haven't got the user yet, but everything I've seen on her kit, really, really good. And if you're pairing her with Suomi, I mean, you're really good to go at that point as well. And then next we have Vepley, an heavily underrated unit by everybody. The tier lists have her completely wrong. I've just started building her and messing around with her on some fights, and she is extremely good when you use her correctly. I'm still trying to kind of figure out the best ways to use her. But being able to remove buffs from the enemy in situational periods, especially like the tier 8 boss, that's really good. Where you can slow his movement so you can kind of control where he's going to be able to be, so you can kind of manipulate where your teammates are to avoid his big AoEs. So there's a lot of situational areas for her, but she's really good in those situations, and it's not as few and far between as, say, Kolic. Like, I think Krolic's very situational, but there's very few situations. I think Vepley has more situations where she's valuable, and I think eventually with dupes, she's going to even get better. And then we still don't have an expansion key for her like we have gotten in the future with the other SSRs, and that very well could make her tier 0 above and beyond everybody else when we get that. We'll just kind of have to see how they do that. And then another great thing, and one thing I haven't really mentioned in any of these people yet, but I kind of probably should, I'll probably go through them all really quickly on this, is she has an extremely good common key. So you're going to want to at least build her to level 40 and get her built up for her common key. That common key is extremely useful. And when you build up her affinity common key is extremely good as well. It's one of the few ones that has crit rate, crit damage, and attack percentage. And that you don't even have to use her. Her common keys are good enough to make her value in there. But I'd actually put her at just below Sabrina in value on the tier 1 list here. Then we come to Prydwen, unit I do not have yet, but I'll eventually get for free once I can get lucky in the little token area that you can get in the dorms, or not the dorms, but in the dispatch shop. And while I haven't got to use her right now, currently in global, she works really well alongside Lara for your AoE situations, but she's extremely situational in those. And for that, I would put her at the top of T2 alongside Lara, situational in the AoE. But biggest thing with Prydwen, right now I'm going to lay her a little bit lower because her value right now is lower, but she's one of the units that is going to get better with time. So she's going to, even though I'm putting her a little bit lower now, and this is with lack of experience on using her, I'm not saying she's bad at all currently. I think AoE seems to be a little less valuable than single target right now, especially on like the hardest content where you're fighting a boss that you just want to nail down. But she is going to get a lot better, especially with Clue K in the future, which pretty much everybody's going to be pulling for. And so I can see her easily being the top of T1, potentially T0. I don't know if she has her expansion key or not yet in the future, but she's going to move up the tier list. She only gets better is a key thing there. So she's a little bit lower right now to me, but she's going to shoot up in the future. Probably have the biggest improvement when she gets her team going together. Then we go to the next unit here, Tolo. And she is my last, I think, of the group, T0. So she's extremely valuable. Everybody mentioned how good she was for early game, and I'm finding her still at this point, even mid game and kind of fighting these end game boss type deals, still extremely useful and a key component in my teams. Now, I won't put her above, and I kind of put Sharrey a little high on here, because this order, if I want to do them in an order, Suomi's first, then QJ, then Sharrey, and then I'd put Tolo after Sharrey, because her ability to go again is extremely useful to get a good start on the fights. Usually you can use it to clear off maybe a key enemy right at the beginning of a fight. And that it's still extremely valuable. She can get around the field easily. And she is going to only get better. She's in kind of another Peta situation, except hers is going to come with the fact when Springfield comes out and she gets her expansion key, she's absolutely broken and she becomes like one of the top DPS in the game at that point. And so she's one of those units. She's T0 right now, and to me, and she's going to continue to be T0 in the future, because at that point she's basically going to get that extra turn every turn. And she hits hard, and she's great at PvP. The one thing I really like about her in PvP side of things, I know a lot of people don't care about PvP, but I do want to comment on it. I'm not really rating them on PvP, but it is just a thought, is I really like Tolo because she's good for the fact that a lot of times you're fighting the AI in the ranked PvP. The AI will put themselves in situations where you can flank them and hit them. And without Tolo, usually I have to take somebody and throw them outside of cover to be able to flank. Because usually what I want to do in PvP is kill their Suomi as soon as I can. Because you kill their Suomi and you still have yours, you're going to win if you know what you're doing. And Tololo's one of those people that you can go out there and you have that extra turn. You can go out, expose yourself, hit Suomi, and then if you can kill her in the second one, you can hit again, and then actually, if you've already done certain things, you'll actually be able to move after the second one. But you can hit the first time while you're flanking her, do a lot of damage, and then if you need to, move to another area to take cover, and then finish off Suomi. Because usually you'll have someone like QJ or someone else that can follow up after to kill her. So for that alone, she's amazing in PvP. But that's not why she's T0. Yeah, still a great unit and will continue to be a great unit. Mosen Nagant is one of the units I got in the last 50-50. I have liked her and I've built her. I have not gotten her common key yet, but it's going to be a really nice common key to get for Macchiato. But one thing I'm really finding is I actually think I would, and actually did I? Okay, I have Nemesis on T2 here. Because I feel like Nemesis, but see, the problem is you're not going to have maxed out Nemesis at this point. A maxed dupe Nemesis, I feel, is better than Mosen Nagant, but it's kind of hard. I'm kind of going for where you're at, and nobody has a maxed out one. But she has, one of her biggest weaknesses is the enemy has to be broken, and that's how you get her counterattacks. And so it's not as useful, say, as Nemesis, and her debuffs aren't as valuable as Nemesis can bring without dupes. Mosen Nagant gets a lot better and is really good when you get a lot of dupes. And so right now, I'll put her probably at the bottom of T1. Still useful. I'm still using her. She's going to kind of probably get relegated to backup because of Macchiato, because Macchiato is going to be like the main sniper. But currently, I'd probably put her at the bottom of T1 because some people are going to want to skip Macchiato and they don't want to build Nemesis. Mosen Nagant is quite fine. She does well, and she will get better with time as you get dupes. And one thing is she does not have her expansion key yet. And since she does not have her expansion key, who knows what they're going to do with that. They can pull a Tolo. Maybe they'll bring out someone like Springfield, but on the electric side, I mean, they already have Andrus as a amazing tank that can do a bunch of stuff. I believe a lot of healing as well. But if they can get that super support that has some kind of healing or some other capabilities for electric, it can really make Mosen Nagant shine, especially if they do something crazy with her expansion key like they did with Tolo, because she's already great if you start getting her up into the V4 and plus on dupes. But for now, nobody's probably got her that far, so she is fairly weak. One of the weaker SSRs that you can get right now in the standard banner, but still decent enough and can do some good damage, and it's done quite well for me on my team. And so the last one, we haven't got her yet, but I have looked in depth enough in her kit to kind of give a rating on this, and that's going to be Macchiato. And right now I'm going to put her at the top of T1. And that is because I'm kind of taking her into consideration as a V0. At V1, yeah, if you get the dupe that some people advise for her, she definitely moves into T0. But she does have right now kind of a core weakness in that you really want to get her expansion key to kind of get her full damage potential out there. But that is one of the nice things is they are buffing characters that are older to kind of try and keep them a little bit in line with the power creep, which is quite nice. I mean, we've seen that with the standard units. We've seen it. Macchiato gets that as well. But right now, right off the bat, she's going to be the best sniper in the game. She's going to be better than Nemesis and better than Mosen and Nagant. But she's not outclassing, to me, Tolo or QJ at this point. Now, I probably should move Sharrey down. I'm going to move Sharrey actually down below Macchiato. Sharrey is extremely good, but the reason I was kind of putting Sharrey at T0 is because of how well she pairs with the burn team. But if you don't have the burn team like QJ, then Sharrey moves down on that kind of value. So on her own, she's not as valuable. She's just really good once you start getting that burn team together. And yeah, because I can't put Sharrey above Macchiato, that's for sure. But so I would put Macchiato the top of T1. She's going to be great. I'm pulling for her. I'm getting her V1, which is going to me, bring her up to T0. And then I just know when they do the rerun or whenever her expansion key comes out, she's going to become even better. So anyone who pulls for her, you don't need to regret pulling for her. She'll bring value to your team. Even at V0, without her weapon, she's going to be better than the other snipers. And in the group of people that we're going to probably get over the next like 4 or 5 units, she is probably one of the higher ones on my list. And so definitely a good one to get. But yeah, if you like my content, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.